Some breaking news this afternoon. The New York Times is reporting the U.S. Cyber Command has been ordered to stop offensive operations against Russia. Thanks for joining us here on this special edition of 4 News Now for the Oscars. I'm Jordan Smith. This was ordered by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, according to 1 current and 2 former officials who were briefed on these secret instructions. We're learning that these instructions were issued before Friday's contentious conversation in the Oval Office between President Trump and Volodymyr Zelensky, but they have yet to be publicly explained. The New York Times again reporting that this move is a part of a bigger effort to bring Russian President Vladimir Putin into a conversation about the war in Ukraine and perhaps a new relationship with the United States. There's still no word on how long that halt could last.
Stand up, speak up, support Ukraine! Stand up, speak up, support Ukraine!
Protests were held across the country, including in Portland and Seattle, as people continue to show their support for Ukraine. This was the scene yesterday along the Seattle waterfront. It comes one day after President Donald Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance argued with Ukraine's president in the Oval Office. An administration official told NBC News yesterday that direct negotiations between the Trump administration and Ukraine are on hold. Back in Seattle, supporters gathered with Ukrainians now living in the area, creating a rally of hundreds of Americans, Ukrainians, even some Russians. One Russian-born man who moved here 8 years ago says he's supported Ukraine since the start of the war.
What happened yesterday at the Oval Office is a very dangerous and scary sign.
We have a lot of support here, so no matter what administration is saying, we stand for Ukraine till the end.
Yesterday, President Trump warned Ukraine's president that continuing the war without the U.S.'s support would mean a Russian victory.
Well, as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky reels from a humiliating trip to the U.S., he has received words of comfort from European allies. But on the ground, things are heating up. Russia has sharpened its attack, unleashing a devastating combination of missiles, drones, guided bombs, and heavy artillery fire on the front lines. Russia claims that in the past 24 hours, over 1,000 Ukrainian soldiers have been killed across the Ukrainian battlefield. The Russian Defense Ministry says that several Ukrainian military targets were destroyed along with Western-supplied weapons. Ukrainian officials have now revealed that an unspecified number of fatalities resulted from a Russian missile strike on a military training ground approximately 130 kilometers from the front line. The Iskander-M ballistic missile, capable of Mach 6 speeds and pinpoint accuracy, was reportedly used in the attack. The attack demonstrates Russia's continued reliance on high-precision weaponry to disrupt Ukrainian operations near its border. Ukrainian officials confirmed fatalities but remained tight-lipped on numbers. Reports suggest up to 40 were dead and 90 others were injured. Ukraine's Land Forces commander vowed to hold those responsible accountable for negligence. The strike occurred Saturday but was only confirmed today. Similar incidents have plagued Ukrainian forces, including a deadly attack in Poltava last year that killed 60. Meanwhile, in Kharkiv, a Russian drone slammed into a residential building, igniting a fire and injuring 8 civilians. Images show emergency crew battling flames in the devastating structure. Moscow has repeatedly denied targeting civilian targets. Meanwhile, Ukrainian forces unleashed a devastating drone attack on Russia, triggering fire in one of the country's largest oil refineries. Video shared on social media showed an intense blaze at the refinery in the Russian city of Ufa. There were no reports of casualties, and approximately 7 hours later, the blaze was extinguished.
With warm embraces and handshakes, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's reception at a European summit in London was a world apart from his meeting Friday in the Oval Office. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer pledged about $2 billion to supply 5,000 air defense missiles for Kyiv, now in the fourth year of its war with Russia.
The UK is prepared to back this with boots on the ground and planes in the air. Together with others, Europe must do the heavy lifting.
Starmer said he, along with Zelensky and French President Emmanuel Macron, agreed to work on a peace plan to present to the U.S., which has discussed brokering a deal.
To succeed, this effort must have strong U.S. backing.
Sunday's gathering followed the extraordinary public scolding of Zelensky by President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance.
Right now, you don't. You're playing cards. Mr. President. You're playing cards. Serious. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III.
Interrupted on live TV, just as the Ukrainian leader was to sign a multi-billion-dollar rare earth minerals deal that was scuttled in the dust-up.
You don't fly, a quarter across the world for a signing ceremony for a deal with the President of the United States and turn it into a debate on American security guarantees.
Zelensky spoke about the U.S.-Ukraine relationship. On Tuesday, the world will be listening closely for signals on Ukraine as President Trump heads to Capitol Hill to address a joint session of Congress.
We now turn our focus to a massive blow to Indonesia's workforce. Shritex, once Southeast Asia's textile powerhouse, has shut down reportedly, leaving more than 10,000 workers without jobs. And reportedly, this is not just another factory closure. It is the collapse of an industrial giant that once supplied military uniforms to NATO and the German army. On Saturday, operations at Shritex came to a halt, and earlier today, a court-appointed administrator said that talks are underway with potential investors to take over the company's assets. But for the nearly 11,000 employees who have now been laid off, the future remains absolutely uncertain. Because you see, Shritex wasn't just any company. It was an icon of Indonesian manufacturing. Established in 1966, it grew into a dominant player, employing thousands and driving the economy of Indonesian province of Central Java. But its financial troubles reportedly caught up last October when it declared bankruptcy. According to reports, a crucial creditors meeting last Friday sealed its fate. The company's 3 main factories in the province reportedly shut down in phases, leaving workers in limbo. And now the Indonesian government is scrambling to provide relief. According to reports, Indonesia's manpower minister has said that affected workers will receive their unpaid wages, severance pay, and social security benefits, including retirement savings and job loss insurance. Officials are reportedly also trying to connect ex-employees with new job opportunities. According to reports, so far, the Indonesian government has identified over 10,000 vacancies in apparel, food and beverage industries. For many Indonesians, the closure of Shritex reportedly is the end of an era. A company that once stood as a pillar of Indonesian industry has fallen, leaving thousands of families uncertain about what lies ahead.
De nuestra parte, pues hemos estado en comunicación, hemos hecho los acuerdos y las coordinaciones necesarias, pero es una decisión que depende del gobierno de los Estados Unidos, del presidente de los Estados Unidos. Entonces, cualquiera que sea esta decisión, pues nosotros también tomaremos nuestras decisiones. Y hay plan.
El señor Lundnik afirmó que a partir de mañana entran en vigor.
Pues hay una reducción de las incautaciones de fentanilo de octubre que llegamos, del 2024. Este es de enero, tendría que salir la cifra de febrero, del 49.94%.
And tomorrow, President Donald Trump plans to impose 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico. The president also plans to double the 10% universal tariff charged on imports from China. President Trump says illicit drugs such as fentanyl are being smuggled into the U.S. at what he calls unacceptable levels. He believes import taxes would force other countries to crack down on drug trafficking. Mexico, China, and Canada are America's top 3 trading partners. Many shoppers worry tariffs on all 3 could lead to higher prices.
Moving on, Germany's next leader, Friedrich Merz, is calling for a discussion on nuclear sharing with France and UK, the only nuclear powers in Western Europe. Merz has argued that the U.S. strategy is shifting under Donald Trump, and therefore Europe needs greater defense independence. France, however, has rejected the idea. France's defense minister, Sébastien Lecornu, says France's nuclear deterrence is French and will remain French. The president alone decides when to use it, and there will be no formal guarantees for European partners. While talking about UK, Britain's nuclear weapons fall under NATO's umbrella, providing some protection to Europe. However, experts say the UK's arsenal relies heavily on U.S. missiles and warheads, raising questions about its independence. Analysts say, as uncertainty surrounds America's future commitment, Europe is facing a growing security dilemma. They also point to the limited size of France's and Britain's arsenals compared to that of U.S. or Russia. According to the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, France has 219 nuclear warheads and Britain has 225. The U.S., however, has 3,708. Analysts also note that Russia takes the U.S. as a nuclear opponent seriously, but views European states differently. France could offer a limited cooperation, inviting allies to join nuclear exercises or deploying nuclear-capable jets in partner countries. But experts say any such arrangement would be on French terms, which is without guarantees or shared decision-making.
Wir können nun bestätigen, dass ein Auto in eine Personengruppe in der Fußgängerzone in Mannheim gefahren ist und hierbei eine Person ums Leben kam. Es wurden mehrere Personen schwer verletzt. Wie viele schwer verletzt und wie schwer die Verletzungen sind, dazu können wir noch keine Angaben machen. Wir können bestätigen, dass ein Täter festgenommen wurde. Ob es weitere Täter gab, dazu können wir aktuell keine Angaben machen. Die Ermittlungen laufen noch auf Hochtouren. Wir haben über die App Katwarn den Bereich der Mannheimer Innenstadt zu einer Gefahrenlage ausgerufen und bitten alle indringlich, diesen Bereich zu verlassen und auch Anwohnerinnen und Anwohner zu Hause zu bleiben.
מדובר בפיגוע דקירה שבוצע על ידי מחבל שמדובר בדרוזי ישראלי תושב שפרעם שעלה לאוטובוס בירידה כאן בתחנה המרכזית מהאוטובוס מתחיל לבצע דקירה של אזרחים חפים מפשע, יורד מהאוטובוס, רץ לעבר המאבטחים שמיד מנטרלים אותו, מנטרלים את האיום ובכך הם מונעים את המשך הפיגוע, המשך פגיעה בחפים מפשע ומצילים חיים. אנחנו כרגע בשלבים ראשונים של החקירה מבינים שהאיש שהה בחודשים האחרונים בחו"ל, הגיע לארץ חזרה בחודש שעבר.
מאוד חשוב והיסטורי, וגם לראש הממשלה כמובן שנכנס עכשיו, שהגיעו להסדר מאוד חשוב בכל הנושא.
חבר הכנסת סגלוביץ', קריאה ראשונה. רבותיי, יש כללי התנהגות בבית הזה.
אני אומר לחמאס, אם לא תשחררו את חטופינו, יהיו לכך השלכות שאתם לא יכולים לדמיין. אנחנו דורשים להקים ועדת חקירה אובייקטיבית, מאוזנת, בלתי תלויה, לא מוטט פוליטית, לא מסקנה, או יותר נכון לא ועדה שהמסקנות שלה כבר ידועות מראש, כבר כתבו אותם, ולא מגוון אחד, ולא רק מקשת דעות מצומצמת של 0.25 מילימטר, שכולם מרוכזים בקצה אחד של הקשת הפוליטית.
הכנסת, אני אמשיך בקריאות.
We need to end the war immediately, as President Trump said. Stop this crazy war immediately. Release them. They are not going anywhere. The Hamas, we can treat them whenever we want. But first of all, we have to release the hostages to stop the war and then to find the way back to our normal life.
Israel has accepted President Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff's plan to extend the temporary ceasefire by 50 days. During that time, we can discuss the conditions for a permanent ceasefire that will end the war in Gaza. In Witkoff's plan, half of the hostages would be released right away, and the remaining half would be released if we reach an agreement on a permanent ceasefire. Again, Israel has accepted this plan, I accepted this plan, but so far, Hamas has rejected it. Hamas had also put forward positions for a permanent ceasefire that are totally unacceptable. Israel has decided to stop letting goods and supplies into Gaza, something we've done for the past 42 days. We've done that because Hamas steals the supplies and prevents the people of Gaza from getting them. It uses these supplies to finance its terror machine, which is aimed directly at Israel and our civilians, and this we cannot accept. We will take further steps if Hamas continues to hold our hostages. And throughout this, Israel knows that America and President Trump have our back.
Not us. We aren't rolling over. You know, sure, we're going to get hurt. There's no doubt. But they're going to get hurt just as much. When they start closing the plants, auto plants, and the supply will last 5 days, by the way, before plants close on both sides of the border, because everyone knows the parts go back and forth 8 times. And they don't have the manpower to build the cars right now. And everything's working fine. Everyone's hunky-dory. Everyone's happy. But he comes in there and he wants to throw fireworks in the middle of everything. It's not broken. It's simple as that. Matter of fact, if we took out our energy, all the oil that they want, by the way, says he doesn't need Canada, but build the XL pipeline. It's pretty ironic. Take that out. The Americans have a $50 billion surplus on trade if we take out the energy. I'm okay with that, right? I'd want to be able to sell them more, by all means, but everyone's a big happy family. And then he wants to come in and, you know, disturb everything. Go after the rest of the world that's causing you a problem, not your number one customer. I don't start a tariff war, but we're going to win this tariff war. Right off the hop, I've directed the LCBO, we're the largest purchaser of alcohol in the world, to remove every bit of U.S. alcohol off the shelves. I know my good friend, the governor of Kentucky, he's losing his mind right now. I said, you better talk to your president. Mitch McConnell, senior senator from Kentucky, they're losing their mind. We purchase over $1 billion of alcohol, 3,600 products, 35 states. It's going to hit them. We call them the kitchen table issues. Then we're going to cancel Starlinks right away from Elon Musk. Not that $100 million makes a difference for him, but it's principle. I've directed the procurement of over $30 billion of goods not to go to the U.S., to make sure we buy Ontario first. And if we can't find it in Ontario and we can't build it in Ontario, we go across the country. We have 51 tariff-free agreements with countries around the world. We're going to diversify our trade. I've been asking kindly for all the retailers, and by the way, this is a massive impact, folks. Over all of Canada, we purchase $800 billion with a B, $800 billion worth of goods from retailers. A lot comes in from the U.S. I love the software. People are just stepping up. I love going down the aisle of the shopping store or grocery store, and people are picking up to look at the back of the label. They've come up with software to scan it. A lot of people can't scan it. I'm asking politely, until I implement it, every retail store When you go look at the shelf talker, it has the price. We need to see a Canadian flag on that price. A lot of people can't pick it up and scan it. So please work with us, or we're going to legislate it and start onshoring goods from you're bringing around the world. There's nothing we can't build here in Ontario, absolutely nothing. So I'm asking for their cooperation to do that, and that's billions. We buy over 300 billion right here in Ontario. So we're going to focus on that. I've never seen patriotism like this in my entire life, running wild across the country.